What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Clinch. This is round 47. It's your boys, Eric and John, back for another week of MMA. Back after a stacked card, one of the best cards of the year, I would say, one of the craziest upsets of the year. But we'll get to all that. But how are you doing today?
John, I'm doing great. We just had one of the best pay-per-views of the year, arguably. Been a lot of great cards this year, but the one that we just had this Saturday, UFC 269, that was a stacked card from top to bottom. Definitely one of the cards that should be considered for card of the year this year, even though there's been quite a few on that list this year.
I don't know what it is about this card, but it felt a little different than other cards. Maybe it was because of the upset with Pena choking out Amanda Nunes. What an insane card, but I don't know.
I just want to apologize on behalf of Inside the Clinch. We'll get into that in a minute, but last week we were almost not even going to break down that fight at all because we thought it was, a done deal for Nunes. But we'll get into all that. But from the start, I just want to apologize on behalf of Inside the Clinch for
put some fucking respect on Julianna Pena's name. That's what happened on Saturday night.
Man, I mean, look, you can't say anything bad about her, man. She did great, but where do you want to start? You want to start with the main event, or you want to start from the bottom, work our way up? I feel like we should go chronologically.
Let's start off with the main event because I feel like that's what most people want to talk about, most people want to listen to, and that's what I want to talk about right now. So let's start off with the main event. Just Dustin Poirier versus Charles Oliveira. What'd you think of the whole thing?
So can I start off by saying I told you so? My boy Charles Oliveira, man, I'm so happy for him.
Okay, the thing is, yeah, you did tell me you did have this one, but as the fight was getting closer, like the day of, the night before, I kind of was starting to lean towards Oliveira a little bit, just because Dustin Poirier, he has trouble with wrestlers, and he hasn't really fought anyone in the past year. He fought Conor McGregor twice. Conor McGregor is not really the same anymore. He's not top level in division, so. Yeah, you had it, yes, but Charles Oliveira, yeah, he's doing well, amazingly well. Started off 10-8 in the UFC, and now look at him, 10-fight win streak.
That's a very good point. 10-8, he started in the UFC, losing almost as many fights as he won, and now look at him, 10 in a row, undefeated. So, Ariel Helwani pointed this out. Him, Glover Teixeira. There was another champion as well. They were in the UFC. Brandon Moreno, that's who it was. In the beginning of their UFC career, they did pretty badly. Bad records, not really beating anybody, not getting any traction. But if you look at them as of late, I mean, Jan Blachowicz just lost after being on a crazy win streak. Brandon Moreno has been killing it in flyweight. Look, Charles Oliveira, like I said time and time again, he did not get enough credit in that division. And I don't think it's because he wasn't good enough or not flashy enough. I just think there were so many other big names in that division. Conor McGregor, Khabib, Justin, Dustin, all these other, Tony Ferguson. Yeah. And I feel like there's more that probably. Yeah,
he's not American. I feel like that's a big thing.
That's another good point. American. Yeah, he can't do the media, which was something I think Poirier called that out during fight week last week. He's like, I don't know how all this media stuff was going to go since he can't speak English. To be honest, the things that Dustin said last time in his last fight with Conor made me hesitate his motivation. Like he said, he didn't love the game anymore. Like he loved the actual fight night, but he didn't like anything else. And he seemed very, I don't want to say unmotivated, but not as motivated for sure. And because of that, I kind of questioned his willpower in this fight. That's kind of why I was hesitant to pick Poirier. That on top of how just phenomenal and great Charles Oliveira has been looking over the past couple of years.
I mean, that's a fair way to feel after those comments. Like I kind of felt the same way, but I feel like something about Dustin Poirier, I think that he kind of, when the moment is big, I feel like he kind of folds. Like in the first round, I believe in the first or second round, when he was on the floor, he was just holding on to Charles Oliveira, not trying to get up, not trying to do anything.
That was the second, yep.
That was the second round. So I don't know. I feel like he fights a little differently when the pressure is on, and I think that's what happened on Saturday night. Not to say that Charles Oliveira is not a great fighter, but I feel like he does fold a little bit under pressure.
So Dustin Poirier definitely won the first round, in my opinion. He landed the bigger shots.
Yeah, he knocked him down in the opening seconds of the round.
About that knockdown,
it was very similar to Michael Chandler. Comes out blazing, knocks him down, and then the tide turns.
So that knockdown in the first round, I do definitely think it hurt Charles Oliveira. But I think if you pay attention, as soon as Oliveira went down a little bit, he kind of just laid into it, I guess, hoping that Poirier was going to lay on top of him. Because if you saw, the first thing he did was throw that up kick, and it missed literally by an inch. He could have very easily knocked out Poirier. So I don't know. I don't know if that was a full knockdown, but look, Poirier, he landed devastating bombs that round, not taking anything away. He won the first round. And then the second round, like you said, you see Oliveira take him down, and Dustin, he said he was learning from his prior mistake with Khabib, where instead of trying to scramble and put himself in a bad position, he was going to ride out the current position. I mean, you don't want Charles Oliveira in your guard. At the very least, butterfly guard, so you can push at the hips, make some space and try to get out. But I don't know. And it was so early in the round too. It's not like there was only 30 seconds left and he was just holding on to the end of the round. Like, it was, I think, at least 3 minutes to go, if not more. But I don't know where this narrative came from that Charles Oliveira is a quitter and he doesn't hang in there. I feel like that's something that Chael Sonnen started, and then the media just kind of ran with it.
If you look at the beginning of his career, especially in the UFC, with some of the fights that he lost, it's very fair to say something like that, because he was not this version of Charles Oliveira we're seeing.
He was like 18 when he started. He was very, very young.
But the thing is, we're not talking about his age. We're talking about the way he acted.
I don't think he quit. I think maybe
he
wasn't tough enough. I don't know. I have to maybe rewatch those fights, to be honest. But maybe he wasn't tough enough. But not being tough enough isn't the same as quitting.
In the beginning of his UFC career, there were a lot of holes. There were a lot of question marks about him because he was on losing streaks. He was
but that's not
winning
same.
Fights.
That's not the same though.
And in many of the fights, I did feel like he kind of gave up a little bit.
Maybe I have to go back and watch some of his older fights. Definitely none of his recent fights. So
it was nothing ever blatantly like, oh, I give up. But like
that was repeated like frequently during the buildup, especially the last 2-3 weeks of this fight. And I honestly did not sit well with me. It was, I don't know. But
I don't know.
In any case, Oliveira, he's a fucking man. Dustin Poirier is now, I guess, flirting with staying at lightweight or going up to welterweight. I personally think
Dustin Poirier is actually considering maybe not continuing the sport anymore. You saw his statement, right?
Yeah, I mean, if he's not motivated, like if he's not hungry,
if you say something like that, I think it should be time to pack your bags.
Yeah, because once you put that thought into your head, then it's a bad recipe.
What else is there for him to accomplish right now? Like,
look, I feel like Poirier is in a position where he doesn't have to get on another 5-fight win streak to get to the belt. I feel like 1 or 2 big wins with top-ranked guys, and he'll get another title shot.
Who is he going to beat right now? I mean, Poirier is a great fighter. He could beat anyone on a given night. But when you have such monsters in the division, and like he's already done it, he has the money now. He has his hot sauce company now. It's different now. He's not the same anymore, I feel like.
Okay, look, so I don't know if the rankings are updated yet. So Gaethje's number 1.
It might be.
Win or lose, assume Poirier fights Gaethje next, right? That's a fight he has won in the past. That'll be interesting to run it back.
Win or lose what?
I'm saying just in terms of matches that Poirier could potentially win. Like, right, he can beat Beneil Dariush. He can probably beat Michael Chandler. Islam.
I don't know if he could beat Beneil Dariush. We'll see. We'll judge Beneil Dariush after he fights Islam Makhachev, because I think that he might give Islam some problems. He's a tough guy.
You don't think Poirier is gonna walk through Dariush?
No walking. Maybe fucking slow.
Okay,
walking.
maybe not walking. Yeah, maybe it's not gonna be.
What's a slow thing to do? Like, I don't know about like run him over or anything like that. Like, I think it's gonna be a tough fight for him. Beneil Dariush is a tough guy. Like,
he's tough, but he doesn't have this skill or experience.
He's not the most. I don't think that he doesn't have the skill. He's not as technical as some other fighters are, but I do think that he has his own way of fighting, and I think he excels in that. And that it works for him, and he's on a pretty long winning streak. He's gonna fight Islam Makhachev. He beats Islam Makhachev, that'll be absolutely insane. So I want to base it off his next opponent, because
fair enough.
I don't know. I think he's tough.
So Charles Oliveira, I think that everyone knows the next fight that's going to happen is the Justin Gaethje fight, unless something ridiculous happens. We're going to talk in more depth, I guess, as we get closer to the fight. But what are your initial thoughts on Gaethje Oliveira?
Gaethje Oliveira, I'm going to have to side with Oliveira on this one. First of all, I don't like how Justin Gaethje has been looking in his past few fights. With the Khabib fight, he was really weird. Like, that was
reckless, too reckless.
Bro, he was fault. Like, Khabib took him down so easily. He would just fall down to the floor by himself. He wasn't the same. He wasn't the Justin Gaethje that we're accustomed to seeing. And with the fight with Michael Chandler, it was a pretty close fight until it got bad for Michael Chandler. But it was a pretty close fight. And I think that stylistically, Charles Oliveira, he just doesn't size up well with Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje doesn't size up well with Charles Oliveira because of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that he has.
So that's interesting because
one thing though, Justin Gaethje, I don't think is going to quit.
No, Justin Gaethje doesn't quit. He either gets knocked out or he gets put to sleep. But I've all the people. So I've been saying a lot of good things about Oliveira, but to be honest, I think the power of Gaethje might be the difference here. Now, Oliveira, his chin has definitely been tested, and he definitely has a solid chin. But he has been dropped by, like you said, by some less people with less power. You know what I mean? So I feel like the power in Gaethje might be able to put the lights out on Oliveira. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Oliveira will have a longer reach too. So, and like I said, going into this Dustin fight, he's been utilizing his striking a lot more. He's keeping people at range, or he gets close enough to take them down and ground and pound and submit them. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be interesting. I'm not sure. Maybe I feel like Gaethje would be the one guy other than Islam right now that can beat Charles Oliveira.
I think Islam beats Charles Oliveira.
I think stylistically, yeah. Stylistically,
I think he has a good chance of beating Charles Oliveira. Gaethje, I mean, obviously he has a puncher's chance. Like, Gaethje punches really hard. Everybody knows that. But I think that Charles Oliveira, I mean, we've seen in the past two fights with Charles Oliveira, him getting knocked down. So maybe if he hits him hard enough, then he is going to knock him out. But I don't know. I'm going to have to go with Charles Oliveira in this one because just from what we've been seeing in the past 10 fights, like, it's kind of hard not to go with him. And Justin Gaethje is kind of on and off. Sometimes he shows up, some other times he doesn't. So it's not a good gamble with him.
All right, John. So let's move on to the co-main event. I think this is, without a doubt, the biggest upset of the year.
God damn.
Bro, Julianna Pena looked amazing out there. So she defeated Amanda Nunes, the GOAT. So many people were dismissing her, but she's been asking for this fight for years. She's been, begging Dana. She's been trying to, haggle Nunes' manager, Nunes' team, anything she can do to get this fight. And now we know why. So in the first round, even the commentators were saying, look at the difference in power, look at the difference in size. And then, Nunes just pretty much had her way with Pena in the first round. Up until the end, Julianna Pena had Nunes in an uncomfortable ground position where her arm, it wasn't in danger, but it wasn't exactly safe. Bell rang, the girls go back to their corners, and I don't know what happened in between rounds. Julianna Pena just came back, 5 jabs right in Amanda Nunes' face. Amanda has no response.
Baby jab.
Bro, big jab. Big jab. It was, bro, she landed 5 jabs in a row, and you just see like Amanda Nunes' eyes just change. Like, it went from that confident smile to like, holy shit, what's happening? Kind of like that look that Rousey had when she got hit by Holly Holm. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm surprised at how she outstruck the bigger, stronger girl. It is crazy. Mostly due to that jab, and
jab, baby jab.
Bro,
big jab.
I was so shocked and just surprised. It was crazy. And then she took her down.
Was shocked, brother.
She took her down and tapped her out. I don't know what it is.
Without getting her legs in.
Without getting her legs in, which is very difficult. But to be honest, I don't know if you
unheard of in this type of fight.
I don't know if you agree or disagree.
She just gave up. Listen.
Oh, she gave up. So I'm just gonna ask. Yeah, that's just what I was gonna ask.
What else did you want to say?
I was gonna say, I don't know how, like, she looked like she just gave into that submission. She didn't look like she tried to get out. Like, she just gave up almost. Like, she got taken down. She's like, all right, this is the end. Like, that's it.
I'm gonna say something fucked up. Good job to Julianna Pena. That was a phenomenal performance on her part. But I think what happened in this fight was not that Julia Pena was really good, which she was. But I just think that Amanda Nunes just didn't show up that night. I think it was a different Amanda, like the Amanda that we've been seeing these past years. It wasn't the same Amanda that we saw on Saturday night. Like, Amanda completely shut down.
I don't know what
gave up. She gave up. She got tired, and she was.
But that's exactly what Julianna Pena said.
She was fighting recklessly. She was not fighting the way that we know that Amanda Nunes fights. So I think that a big factor here is Nunes didn't show up, and I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because she's been a champion for so long. Maybe it's because she has a kid now and has a family. Who knows? But I think that Amanda Nunes didn't show up. And all the credit to Julianna Pena. I'm a fan of hers. I know that you're not the biggest fan of hers, but
not that I'm not the biggest fan. I mean, look,
you think she's cringe?
I think when she speaks, I'm not very into that. But bro, like that jab shut her down. And like she said she was gonna do building up to this fight. She said Amanda Nunes is gonna curl in a fetal position in front of her. And bro, if you told me that the night of the fight, I still wouldn't have believed you. And even in going to the second round, I would have been like, okay, maybe Nunes is just gonna wake up. Bro, Nunes had no response. She didn't move her head. She didn't do anything. Like literally nothing. Like it was. I was more shocked at.
You were in awe.
I was, as you'd like to say, I was in awe at.
I was in fucking awe.
The lack of just reaction from Nunes. I had no words. It was just insane. But
I think
if they run it back, I think Nunes is going to take it much, much more seriously.
She gave up, which is such a bad sign. And this fucks up everything. This loss, because you know what I'm gonna say right now. Kayla Harrison, she pulls up to UFC 269 right by Ali Abdelaziz, talking to Chris Weidman that night, probably smashed. But that did not happen. But so she comes to UFC 269. UFC puts her on the broadcast, kind of, in my opinion. I posted this on our Instagram. I think that they're implying that they're going to sign her, but why else would they show her on the broadcast? Another MMA fighter in a different organization, a free agent. Why would they show her? So it kind of makes sense that they're considering. And also Dana White said something about Kayla Harrison coming in and how this messes everything up. But yeah, now it messes everything up. And what's wrong with Amanda Nunes? Is she scared of Kayla Harrison? Is that the problem? Because she didn't look too upset after the fight.
Nah, look, I don't think.
I'm kidding, but yeah.
Look, it does throw a wrench into all the UFC's plans because, like we said, everyone in the world thought Nunes was going to win. There was one guy that bet $318,000 on Amanda Nunes to win at minus 1,000 odds.
Saw that.
So over 300K to win 31 grand, 32 grand. Like, that guy's
fucking idiot.
I don't know. I hope that's insane. But look, I don't think Nunes obviously lost through this fight because of Kayla Harrison, but I'm curious why she lost. Did she lose because she didn't show up on the Pena fight, or did she lose because she just doesn't have the hunger to train the way she used to because she's been so good for so long? You know what I mean? She's a champion of 2 divisions. In my opinion, she's the only real double champ the UFC has ever seen. She's actively held and defended both belts multiple times. Like, she's a real double champ. So it's like, how much more motivation do you have? You know, like maybe if her overall motivation is gone, like if her desire is not there, this very well could be the end of Amanda Nunes. But if this was just something that happened mentally, maybe the day of the fight, or she just, you know, this was a one-time thing.
It's a bad sign.
May not be the end of Nunes. I don't know. I think it's going to be scary.
I think it's close to the end of Nunes because, in my opinion, she kind of gave up. But I'm just looking at Julianna Pena's record right now. So she defeated Amanda Nunes.
How insane is it that a person as dominant as Amanda Nunes gets one loss and everyone's ready for her to retire? What a sport we're in.
It wasn't just a loss. It was the way that she lost.
It's like, fair enough.
She lost in such a weird way. Like, you don't expect someone that most people call her the GOAT. You know, it's between her and Valentina Shevchenko, but people say her because she defeated Valentina. Whatever. That's a different argument for another day. But the losing like that is just, I don't know what it was. It was very hard to watch. I was in awe, like I like to say. I was in freaking awe watching it from my bed. What a crazy finish for Pena. But I just want to go over her win and loss record real quick. So in her last 5 fights, she lost to Valentina Shevchenko via armbar. That was in 2017. And she lost to Jermaine Durandamy. That was in 2020, also by technical submission, guillotine choke. She defeated Sarah McMahon, but that was a close fight. She defeated her in the 3rd round. So, you know, she was good. Julianna Pena was always good, but there was nothing. I never found her to be anything special. And I feel like the odds makers felt the same way that I did.
Look, going into this fight, I didn't know when I see a matchup, I like to consider how can this person beat their opponent and how can that person beat their opponent. And looking at Julianna Pena last week, I did not see area in MMA where she had an upper hand on Nunes. So I agree there too. Like
He doesn't. That's the craziest part.
I don't know. Like I said, if they run it back, assuming Nunes still has some kind of motivation, I think Nunes comes back and just the first round is going to be how the whole fight plays out the next time around. But I don't know. Congrats, Julianna Pena. I don't know. I'm still kind of processing this. This is already like 3 days removed from the event. I'm still kind of processing this upset.
So I'm just gonna say one last thing about this fight, and then let's move on. But listen, I'm gonna say this. I still think that Amanda Nunes is the better mixed martial artist. I still think that Amanda Nunes is better in every single area of the sport, if not every single area, 95% of the areas that you could excel in. I feel like Amanda Nunes is that. Like I said in the beginning, I just think that Amanda Nunes didn't show up. There's something was off with her performance that night. There was something off about her. Maybe she didn't take her seriously, but there was something off about her, and that's what I think it was.
I hope we see a positive return of Amanda Nunes. I'm not saying I would necessarily want to get the belt again, but just at least I want to see another good performance to know that, that's not going to be the last sight we see of her, because that'll be a horrible end to an amazing legacy if that's the case.
I'm gonna do my fortune telling. So this is what's gonna happen now. Kayla Harrison is gonna sign with the UFC, and she's gonna dominate the division. She's gonna be the new Amanda Nunes.
Do you think she basically beats Amanda and kicks Amanda out the UFC, or do you think Amanda dips before, or do you think Amanda leaves before that fight?
I don't know. I don't think Amanda's gonna leave for a little bit.
I hope not.
I don't know. I think I don't know what the hell happened on Saturday night. It's like you said, like it's been 3 days. I'm still processing it. I would love to talk to Amanda Nunes and ask her like what's wrong, like not what's wrong with you, whatever. But
what happened?
What the fuck happened?
Yeah.
What happened? She just said, but she answered it. She said she didn't show up. That's what happened, sir. She didn't show up.
But she did have a good first round. You know what I mean? Like the first round, she looked good. She did eat a couple of shots, but like she looked good. Anyway, man, let's move on. Yeah, we can talk about this for another few weeks, and we probably still will be processing it.
So wait, before we go on, so now the next fight to make is obviously the rematch. So before we move on, who takes who? I feel like
I said it depends
Amanda
how
Nunes
motivated.
is still the favorite in the rematch.
It depends how motivated Nunes is.
We're never gonna know how. We're not friends with her. We're never gonna know.
Yeah, but
how motivated. She's always gonna say, "Yeah, I'm motivated."
You can't necessarily tell how motivated, but you can tell when they're not motivated, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? You can tell by the demeanor and not always, but
it's hard to judge it off that.
It's all we have, brother. It's all we have.
So I'm asking you again. It's going
to depend how motivated Nunes is. I'm going to say Nunes beats her, but look, I was wrong last time. So
the whole world was wrong, brother.
All right, man. Next up, we had a welterweight fight. Geoff Neal defeats Santiago Ponzinibbio via split decision. What were your thoughts on that fight?
I thought it was a close fight, back and forth. Honestly, it could have gone either way, in my opinion. Ponzinibio, I feel like he's not really the same fighter anymore after the layoff. He's still good. He still had his moments in the fight. Nothing from either opponent really wowed me. I wasn't really impressed. Like as GSP likes to say, I wasn't impressed by the performance. I really wasn't. Like it was a decent fight from Geoff Neal. Nothing spectacular, like I said. Ponzinibio has lost 2 fights since he returned, one to Jing Liang and now to Geoff Neal. So I don't know what's up with him. I'm a fan of his still. I hope he figures it out, but not really much to say about this fight, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. Neither fighter was super impressive. But I did think Geoff Neal won the fight going into the scorecards. Ponzinibio, yeah, like he looked so good, prior to that layoff. Then he had some medical issues, surgeries. He was away for a while. And although in the press conference, he kept repeating how he was fighting for his life, so no man can beat him now. I mean, unfortunately, Geoff Neal beat him. I don't know. I'm way off that bandwagon already. I don't really see him ever, maybe top 10. He'll never be top 5 in my opinion, unless somehow the division clears out. Who he kind of reminds me of? a less flashy Michel Pereira. So he has the same kind of ear, the guy that does all the backflips and stuff when he fights. I don't know. He looked like him.
Really?
I don't know, a little bit. I don't know if it's the ears or what it is.
It kind of reminds me of
like
his face kind of reminds me of like a Holyfield.
Holyfield, the fuck?
How the fuck does he remind you of Michael Pereira?
How does he remind you of Holyfield?
First of all, Holyfield and him look more alike than him and Pereira.
Ponzinibio?
Oh, I thought you were talking about Geoff Neal.
No, Ponzinibio. Oh, okay. I see Holyfield and Geoff Neal. Okay.
We're just talking about two different fucking things.
But anyway, yeah, like you said, neither fighter was super impressive. Geoff Neal to get the job done. Let's see who's in the rankings, who we can possibly fight next. Let's look at the, bottom 15. Ponzinibio was ranked number 14 going into that fight. Li Jingliang is ranked number 13. He's coming off a loss to Khamzat. Geoff Neal is currently ranked number 12. Let's see, Belal Muhammad at number 10. Michael Chiesa number 9. I think Chiesa is actually coming off a couple of losses, so that fight.
Belal Muhammad is fighting this weekend.
Yeah, I'm just saying the rankings. John Brady at 8. I don't know. I think either Michael Chiesa or Li Jingliang might be a good fight. Muslim Salikov is at number 15. But I don't know if Geoff Neal's going to want to fight 15 if he just beat a 14. So
I think Jingliang is a good fight.
Yeah.
That'd be a good fight.
I agree.
So we thought that Amanda Nunes was a wowzer moment. This next fight was not as crazy, obviously, but
Amanda Nunes is by far
nothing but still Cody Garbrandt versus Kai Kara France. Cody Garbrandt moves down weight division, looks skinny as hell in the weigh-ins, and he got his ass handed to him. He keeps getting knocked out. And there's so many funny memes going around with about his chin. Cody Garbrandt, so crazy. 5 years ago, he was the champion, just defeating Dominic Cruz. Now, losing every single fight. When he gets knocked out, he looks different than other fighters getting knocked out. He looks like he's on another planet.
Yeah.
Every single time he gets knocked out, there's something about his demeanor to me, it's
his eyes just like roll back. Yeah.
He fucking flies away for a split second, like a few seconds, and comes back trying to wrestle, try to find somebody's knees. He just looks really out of it. I don't think it's healthy for him to continue fighting. Kai Kara France, Cody Garbrandt was a favorite in this fight. I had Cody Garbrandt to win. You also had Cody Garbrandt to win. But the chin is not there. I think he's a better fighter. I didn't think that Kai Kara France had the power to knock him out, but also Cody Garbrandt has a soft chin, moves down a weight division. That's going to impact your durability and your chin and all that stuff. So I kind of expected this in a way, but I also was rooting for Cody because I'm a Cody fan, obviously, but time to pack your bag, my brother.
Bro, TJ Dillashaw just destroyed Cody's jaw and just took it with him, bro. Like after those two TJ fights, Cody just could not he had no chin anymore. Like he was gone. I don't know how much. I mean, look, if Cody did get knocked out several times in his last 5 fights, but how much of this knockout was related to the weight cut? Because like you said, he looked skinny as hell. I'm sure even though he replenished the next day, he just showed up dehydrated as hell. Kai Kara France, he's not bad. The kid is a great fighter and he's a great young prospect. But my only criticism of Kai, I guess, prior to this fight was that sometimes he gets too reckless and the fight becomes too much of a brawl. And that's when he kind of takes too many unnecessary shots and the fight goes, not his way. But Cody doesn't have the chin. So, I mean, when he dropped Cody that first time, Cody literally fell the way Apollo fell when he fought Ivan Drago in the Rocky 3. What was it, Rocky 3? Rocky 4? Bro, yeah. Cody just fell like this, and I'm like, holy shit. Like, Cody, like you said, he didn't just fall. Like, he just, like, his soul left his body for a second. The whole body mass just dropped, and then, like, a second later, he wasn't trying to wrestle her. I feel like he realized, but, I mean, Cody just took another fucking beating, man, another fucking beating.
Or Cody Garbrandt. I don't know what's next for him. Kai Kara France is asking for the title because apparently Cody was supposed to get the next title shot. I don't know how that makes any sense, but that's what apparently was going to happen if he won the fight. So now Kai Kara France is saying, yo, you're going to give this kid the title shot. Why don't you give it to me?
I agree with that logic, but
I don't think he's going to get it.
It's obviously not the fight to make. He's ranked number 10. If he was ranked 6, 7, maybe.
Fuck that. You have to
No,
get
why?
a decent top five.
There have been number
Top
6 or
five, bro.
7
Come on.
people getting
Top five.
title shots. There have been number
Top
6.
five.
I think it should be. Look, you can't.
Top five.
He said, "I'm not fighting."
I think
unless
a
it's title
five.
fight.
I think it's number 5 ranked shouldn't fight for a title shot.
I agree. It should be number 1 or number 2. And if
Tops number 3.
tops number 3,
4.
that's only if 1 or 2 are injured or unable to fight. I think that's the only time number 3 should fight. But this is a spectator sport, so whoever is going to bring the most attention. So speaking of which, Sean O'Malley, the Suga Show, he started off the pay-per-view with a bang. So Sean O'Malley defeats Raulian Paiva. A lot of people were trying to talk this guy up. I feel like this happens very frequently to Sean O'Malley and to Khamzat. Was that?
Who was trying to talk him up?
Every last few opponents that Khamzat and O'Malley have, everyone's like, yeah, like you guys are going to see this is going to be the big test. Like the hype train is over. And then it's just like a walk in the fucking park for them. Like this happened to Khamzat's last few opponents. This happened to O'Malley's last few opponents. Look, I'm not arguing. Like the guy definitely fights people that are not in his league, but he's still fucking good. The question is how good. You know what I mean?
He's good.
So I don't think it's O'Malley's fault. O'Malley's vocal about it, and Dana confirmed it this weekend. O'Malley has been asking for ranked opponents, for tougher opponents. It seems just like the UFC is trying to protect their little star right now. So I think this was the last fight in O'Malley's contract. If not, he has one more, and then he's going to go into renegotiations with the UFC. And I think once that renegotiation happens, then we're going to see, main events with O'Malley. We're going to see ranked opponents, good opponents, and fights that are going to make a lot more sense. That's my intuition, I guess.
Listen, I think that Sean O'Malley did a great job. Fought a great fight.
First knockout finish in a while.
For who? Sean O'Malley?
Sean O'Malley, yep. His last few happened like late in the 3rd, I believe.
Oh, really? Yeah, I mean, it was a great win for him. But coming into this fight, I was saying that I thought that this was what's going to happen. And that's what happened because Paiva, he's okay. He's all right. But he's a smaller fighter. If you look at the size difference, like he's a smaller fighter. And I don't think that his jiu-jitsu is okay. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, I believe. But I don't think it's good enough to submit Sean O'Malley.
He's a Bellator tier fighter.
I don't think his wrestling is good enough to take Sean O'Malley down and keep him down. I think he's okay. He won some decent fighters, but Sean O'Malley, he's better than Paiva, and that showed on Saturday night.
So agree or disagree? Raulian Paiva is Bellator quality fighter. Agree or disagree?
You would fit in Bellator for sure. Bellator has some good fighters.
Yeah, different level, brother. Different level.
I mean, there's some not great fighters in the UFC too. Like if you look at speaking of breaking news, I don't know how breaking this is, but Nate Diaz apparently has a contract extension from the UFC. His record is like 20-13. Like
I think he has more losses.
When we talk so much about Nate Diaz, Jorge Masvidal, and like these guys will all be fine in Bellator. I'm sure they'll lose fights in Bellator and the PFL even, but they have the character. But it's a little bit off topic. So I feel like the question here, well, I don't feel like the question here. The question here is, what's next for Sean O'Malley?
Dominic Cruz came off a win. It's not the biggest fight, but it's a name at least, so it's going to be a step up for Sean O'Malley. I would have loved to see the Cody Garbrandt fight, but there's really no point to make that fight.
No chance.
Let's see who else. Adrian Yanez, I think, is the fight to make next. Sean O'Malley, if you want to you have the Dominic Cruz fight if you want to give him a name, or you have Adrian Yanez if you want to give him a real test. Now, the only reason I would see that they wouldn't make that fight now is because both of these guys are fucking amazing, and I think they're on two separate paths to the top of the mountain. So I can understand if they don't make that fight now, only just to save it for, either a title fight or a contender fight or something higher ranked where there's more at stake. But I think that is a huge, huge fight to make in that division right now. Adrian Yanez is very, very impressive. And O'Malley, I mean, he's been getting, spoon-fed fights, so it's easy for him to look good. But Adrian Yanez, I feel like he's had a tougher road, and he's been impressing me. It's all I can say.
I feel like the UFC should save that fight for a later date. Like I think they saved it with Israel Adesanya and Costa in some regard. I think they should save that fight. But I think the fight to make right now is Dominic Cruz. They both just fought on the same card. I thought that Cruz got a little bit disrespected. I don't know how he felt about it, but Cruz was on the prelims, a former champion. Some regard him as one of the best in the division. I don't agree with that, but whatever. People say that. So, I mean, it has to hold something. And he was on the prelims. He had a pretty impressive performance, I would say. So I think size them up. I think they have some beef with one another. I feel like that fight would sell. And it's going to be the biggest name on Sean O'Malley's resume if he beats him. And I feel like Dominic Cruz at this stage in his career, he's kind of like the gateway keeper, you know? You beat Dominic Cruz.
He's not active. He's kind of, I feel like he just shows up for a payday every couple of months, but like he's not active. He's not fighting
active enough. He's fights.
Yeah, but he's not like, it's not like the fights that he takes. It's not like they're fights that'll get him up the ranking to get to the belt. They're fights that make sense for maybe for just for him to
That's
collect
exactly
a paycheck.
why, and that's exactly why he would take the fight with Sean O'Malley. Yeah, because he's not looking for those highly ranked fighters. Like look at his last few fights, not really the biggest name. So and he's not really that high ranked anymore. So I think Sean O'Malley fight makes sense right now. I feel like it's gonna sell and it's gonna be a real test for Sean O'Malley, a bigger test than we've ever seen.
Agreed, but I think O'Malley knocks him out. Cruz. The one thing in Cruz's favor, and it's the one thing that ever made him good, in my opinion, was just his movement. It's so unusual and unorthodox that it's hard to land your shots. And I feel like that has been the main reason that Dominic Cruz is even relevant as a fighter anymore. The guy moves just phenomenally and unlike anyone else you've ever seen. And
I don't know. I feel like fading with him.
I mean, look, he's getting older, bro. You can't really do it. Age is
fading with him too. He was in trouble. We're gonna get to that fight, obviously, but the chin was fading in that fight.
So that was it for the UFC pay-per-view card, UFC 269. But on the prelims, we had Dan Egay versus Josh Emmett concluding the prelims. Josh Emmett got a unanimous decision win against Dan Egay. I know you were rooting for Emmett in this fight. So how you feel? Yeah, how you feeling about this fight?
I thought that it was a pretty close fight. Dan Egay looked really good. Josh Emmett looked really good. I thought it was, as I said, a competitive fight. I definitely enjoyed watching it, and I definitely enjoyed watching Emmett win because he was the last fighter on my parlay, and he hit it for me. So very happy with that fight.
Yeah, he did good. Dan Egay, he's tough as hell too. I really like that guy. I definitely think he's gonna be back. Josh Emmett, I feel like is another one of those guys that kind of, I don't know why, doesn't get the respect he deserves in this division. I feel like, I don't know why. I don't know. I feel like the name is just not known. It's not like a household name. Like Dan Egay, you know, if you're an MMA fan, chances are you know who Dan Egay is. I feel like a lot of people don't really know who Josh Emmett is, which is a bit sad because the guy's a stud. The guy just had another great win. Back and forth
for a while too.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm a bit surprised that he doesn't get the recognition I feel like he deserves, but huge win.
Yeah. And he's on a win streak right now. What was this? 4 fights in a row. So it was 4 fights in a row, which started with Michael Johnson, Mirsad Bektik, Shane Burgos, and now Dan Egay. So he's on a good run. A stud. He has his flaws as well. Many flaws in his game. I think that will prevent him from being the champion, obviously, but great fighter for sure.
So next up, we had Dominic Cruz defeating Pedro Munoz, which, to be honest, I was a little bit surprised about. Pedro Munoz started off very strong in the first round. I think he almost finished Cruz. Then Cruz came back in rounds 2 and 3, and he just looked great. Like we just said, Cruz. Like I just said, I think Cruz's main key to success his entire career has been his movement, and I think that's what saved him in this fight. I don't want to say saved him, but that's what allowed him to win this fight. Because he did take a beating and then came back, and he was just moving better. He was avoiding the shots, and look, it's high IQ. The guy has more experience than I would say like 90% of the UFC roster at least. So big win for Dominic Cruz. Pedro Munoz is, tough contender. I feel like, similar to what I was saying earlier, Cruz is, I feel like, not active enough to be completely ranked. So I feel like there was a lot of risk for Pedro Munoz going into this fight, but he's another stud that I think is going to be back strong. So I'm not too worried about this one loss for him. I don't think it's going to negatively impact him too much.
I mean, Pedro Munoz is what Pedro Munoz is. He's a good fighter, not a great fighter. Dominic Cruz, um, vintage performance, as people like to say. Vintage Dominic Cruz. His movement I thought was pretty good, but one thing that I noticed about him in his last few fights, the chin is fading, man. The chin is just not. It's not the same anymore, and it's we see it with Cody Garbrandt, and not to the same extent with Dominic Cruz, obviously, because he did get knocked down in the first round, but he was able to come back into the fight. And this is something that Keith Peterson prevented him from doing so. And he kind of proved the world wrong that he could come back into the fight after he's knocked down. So I thought it was a really good performance on his part. And I think the next clear matchup to make is Sean O'Malley.
Yeah, I agree. I think it makes sense for both the guys, both O'Malley and for Cruz. Big payday for both guys, big names for both guys. And I think, I don't think Cruz is ranked too high. So, in terms of ranking, they're pretty close to each other. So I think that fight makes all the more sense now. I think if we wait anymore, who knows how many more wins Cruz can get if he can win any more. So I'd rather that fight take place sooner rather than later, because before we know, it'll become a Cody Garbrandt situation.
Yeah, I think it's a fight they should make fairly soon because Dominic Cruz is already up there in age. They fought just right now on the same card, which makes sense for them to kind of continue this path and size them up next. I feel like Dominic Cruz at this point in his career, kind of like the gatekeeper. He's not fighting the top ranked guys. He's not a top ranked fighter anymore. He's getting there. So I feel like it's a great fight to make right now.
All right, next up at heavyweight, we had a Tai Tuivasa getting a second round knockout against Augusto Sakai. Put his lights out, hopped up on the octagon, and the Nelk boys threw him a beer, and we had another famous shoey. Bro, this guy, I feel like I'm more excited for him to win just because of his post-fight celebration than his fights themselves. I mean, the guy's an exciting fighter to watch. He has a lot of power and has some pretty nice knockouts, but I don't think anything tops his celebration, and hands down one of the best in the UFC.
Celebration is definitely very interesting. The guy is a psychopath. I don't know. I don't want to sound like a party pooper, but that's absolutely disgusting what he does. Taking off, I didn't realize that was the Nelk boys, but taking off a shoe that somebody's been wearing all day, all year, whatever the case may be, and just chugging a beer from it, and sometimes having the other people spit in the beer before he chugs it. I mean, I get it, kind of like that side of the world, or where they do it for, where they do that, whatever, that's your thing, then you do that. But it's absolutely ridiculous, obviously. But it's fun to watch for sure. But the performance, which is what most matters most, he put on a performance on Saturday night. That knockout was vicious. Great on his part. I love seeing him win. Outside of the drinking thing, he's always in good spirits, always laughing and having a good time. So I enjoy watching him win, and he's moving up the rankings. And not too long ago, he was on a skid. So it's nice to see him back in his winning ways. So
yeah, that's 4 wins in a row after losing 3 in a row. So he's definitely back. He's, like you said, working his way up the rankings. He beat Augusto Sakai, who's a pretty well-respected heavyweight in the division. And right before that, he beat Greg Hardy, which, although not the best MMA athlete, he's a pretty well-known name as well. So I love that guy. The guy's hilarious. I don't know if you guys ever tune into his Instagram lives. He's just always trolling people. There was one point when he was quarantining, he was just getting random fans to come onto his live and just trolling them. The guy's just hilarious. He's a hilarious person. And I love to see those kind of people win because they give us something to smile about on top of their wins. So very happy for this guy.
Yeah. So the first fight on the prelims was Jordan Wright versus Bruno Silva. Bruno Silva gets a job done early in the fight. 1 minute and 28 seconds, gets the knockout. I thought he looked phenomenal out there. Great way to start off the card.
Yeah, I agree. Beautiful knockout. 1.5 minutes into the first round. Jordan Wright, he was pretty bigger than Bruno Silva, so great win.
He was another one. He got knocked out and he flew into another dimension, bro. If you haven't seen this knockout,
it was pretty bad.
I highly encourage you to go and watch this Jordan Wright kid get knocked out because he gets He has knocked the fuck out, dude. That was hard to watch. Kind of like very similar to Cody Garbrandt.
But no one is as fun to get knocked out as James Vick, the GOAT. So if you really want to have a blast, go look up how James Vick gets knocked out. Sorry, not sorry, guys.
So moving to the early prelims, we had Andre Muniz defeating Eric Anders. First round submission, 3 minutes and 13 seconds. Andre Muniz on a winning streak. Before that, we had Miranda Maverick, our girl, former guest of the program, facing Erin Blanchfield. Tough night for Miranda Maverick. Didn't see the fight. I'm sorry to cut you off. Didn't see the fight going that way. It's hard to watch. Really hard to watch. Blanchfield dominated her from the first round to the last second of the fight. So it was very, very hard to watch. I know that Miranda Maverick is going to come back stronger. We wrote her a heartfelt message. She didn't get back to us. She's going through her emotions right now. It's okay. We forgive her, but very hard to watch.
Yeah, did not expect the fight to go this way. Miranda Maverick, she didn't really get beat up in this fight. She just got out grappled literally the entire time, like you said, up until the last second. Erin Blanchfield didn't want to take the risk in standing with Miranda Maverick, and she took her down. But to be honest, I thought Miranda Maverick had a little bit more of like a wrestling base. I thought if anything on the ground, she'd be a little bit more comfortable. She's a relatively strong girl for the division, but Blanchfield, she took her down with ease and just took her back with ease and just she put that herself into every
2 years old or 21, 22, whatever the hell she is.
That's crazy, bro.
Amazing. Yo, my dad doesn't really know Miranda Maverick. I told my dad as we were watching this that she was a guest on our show, and he was watching the fight and he was saying like Miranda Maverick sucks, like
but you can't base it off of this fight. This is her first
he was saying that Miranda Maverick sucks, and I was trying to tell him, I'm like, Dad, Miranda Maverick does not suck. She's a good fighter. Like she's done well in the UFC. She's done well in her MMA career. Erin Blanchfield is just really good.
Yeah,
that's what it is,
bro. That's all it is. Look, Miranda Maverick, she's had some amazing fights in the UFC, and like I just said, this is her first UFC loss. So not the biggest deal in the world, but again,
second
the weight
loss.
Is it? I thought it was her first. No,
it's her second loss because she did lose to Macy Barber.
That's right.
But she didn't really lose that fight. As everybody knows, she clearly won the fight.
Yeah,
she should have won the fight. So, but if you're looking at it in terms of numbers, in terms of actual wins and losses, she lost 2 in the UFC. So,
yeah, like you said, we wrote her a message. I am going to follow up in a couple of weeks, see if she feels better. Maybe after the holidays, we'll try to get her back on to talk about the fight a little bit.
We'll be like that. We'll be like that annoying girlfriend, like,
hey, you want to talk?
just getting left on scene.
Want to talk about your feelings?
Every few months, just hey.
All love from Miranda Maverick. A lot of respect for her. I think she's realized some of the holes that she needs to fix, and I do believe she'll be back stronger in her next fight. I do see this girl potentially holding the belt by the time her career is over. So I don't know. I have a lot of high hopes for Miranda Maverick.
Yeah, me too. I have a lot of high hopes for her. She's also, Blanchfield is 22 years old, very, very young. But Miranda Maverick, she's 25, very young as well. So, she has a lot of things to improve in. We saw that clearly in the fight on Saturday. Not to talk down on her at all, but those are just facts. I hope she's able to improve. I hope she bounces back and shocks the world in her next fight. But it sucks for her right now.
Yeah, so prior to that, we had Ryan Hall getting back in the win column with a unanimous decision win against Darrick Minner. Before that,
I just want to say one thing about the Ryan Hall fight. So Ryan Hall gets the job done. This dude, his attacks for the legs are just absolutely insane. And one thing I just want to mention on this fight and about Ryan Hall in general, he's an amazing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. Especially with the leg locks, but he's not going to be able to beat the highest level competition in the UFC just using that because he doesn't really have anything else besides that. If he doesn't get your leg or doesn't get you in some type of submission, he doesn't have anything else. It's kind of like a Maya. But Maya hit. He was able to knock people out. And as of right now, Ryan Hall is not that guy. So last fight he looked completely horrible. So this fight he was able to get it done. How many attempts did he throw in before he got that done? How many attempts did
I want to see some more diversity in his arsenal, because you can't be that one dimensional in this game. Like, you're just not going to go far.
That's exactly what it is. He's one dimensional, and that's all he is. He's amazing at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, maybe one of the best Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners in the UFC right now, especially with those leg locks. And a lot of people don't, like they were saying this on the broadcast, like a lot of people don't practice leg locks because getting a leg lock is very dangerous because you could like
destroy your knees.
Yeah, so like a lot of people don't like mess around with that because people go hard in sparring and stuff like that. Not in sparring, and whatever the fuck it's called, grappling. But he's really good, but he needs to get more diverse. But I don't know if that's even possible for him. That's the thing about it. I don't think his striking is ever going to be that good.
I agree. I don't know. He needs to do some kind of striking training, but like you said, if he doesn't make these changes, he's not going to go up in the division. It's simple as that. And it doesn't seem like he's making the biggest changes. I mean, compared to his last fight, but
it's hard. It's hard. I feel for these fighters because it's hard because all their life they're just training in one aspect, one specific style as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then just coming in and starting to strike and do other things. I feel like at a certain age, it's just different. You're not. The muscle memory is not
learning
there.
The same way. Yeah.
You're just not experienced. Experience is a big deal. And that's something he's not going to gain. Even if he does this for the next 10 years, he's not going to be a great striker. He might be a good striker, but that's not going to cut in the UFC.
So prior to that fight, Tony Kelly got a big knockout win against Randy Costa for 4 minutes and 15 seconds in the second round. And Jillian Roberts got a submission win at 4:59 in the first round. I just want to say about this fight, Priscilla Kochera, dirty fucking fighter. She was getting choked, and while she's in the middle of a rear naked choke, she literally puts her hand back, and I think more than once forces her thumb into Jillian Roberts' eye, and not like a poke like this. Like, she shoved that thumb in there. Like, that was egregious is the only word I can call it. And I mean, I think she did it more than once too. So. And the funniest part is that she tapped in the last second. Like, she was literally at the finish. Like, you're cheating and you're doing all this, and like, you're gonna tap. I'm like,
I never understand that.
I'm actually glad she tapped, because I feel like going into the next round, Jillian Robertson's eyes could have been really compromised, and that could have been a difference in the fight. So I'm glad that she tapped. Dirty fighter. I better not see a shit.
I never understand when people tap at the last second, just fucking man it out for another.
I think
second.
they're not aware. At the time.
So yeah, I guess they're not aware. But on topic, I just want to mention one thing since you brought it up with the unfair fighting and cheating. Did you see the you know what I'm going to say, right? The glove grab by
I was actually thinking
Charles
because we didn't talk about that. Yeah. So
go
ahead.
I mean, it's fucked up. Like, you can't do that. I don't care. You cheated.
Okay. I don't know.
You can't do that.
I do think the fingers did go in the glove.
Of course,
I don't think that changed the outcome of the fight, though. If this was a situation,
he would have probably still won. Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think that was a situation where, I don't know. I feel like this is me watching from my couch at home. You know what I mean? I'm obviously not in the octagon. My hand is not being ripped off by Charles Oliveira, but I feel like either way, Poirier wouldn't have, because either way he just rolled. I feel like maybe he couldn't get his arm out. He rolled. I feel like Oliveira still was on top of him and still had a dominant position. I don't think the outcome would have changed whether or not he did that. So that's why I'm not as upset about it. It's not like a situation where someone's going for a takedown and, a fighter holds onto the fence so that they don't get taken down. It wasn't something like that, in my opinion.
I think it's similar. I don't think that's similar.
I don't know. A lot of people are talking about it. Personally, like I said, I don't think it changed the outcome of the fight, so I'm not upset about it. But
okay, so I don't think it would have changed the outcome of the fight either, but I am upset about it because Charles Oliveira, bro, like, we have so much respect for you. What the fuck are you doing? Like, that's not cool.
Look, maybe it was a spur of the moment. He just kind of grabbed
Dustin Poirier, I like Dustin Poirier a lot, and I don't know. You don't do that. Just win fairly. There's not many.
I don't think it was intentional. I don't think he did it.
Of course it was intentional, bro. Get the fuck out of here, bro. Come on. Of course it was intentional.
I don't know. I'm not gonna make excuses for the man. I'm not in his shoes. Come on.
Don't say it's not intentional. Of course it was intentional. He knows what he's doing.
Yo, don't talk shit about my boy, bro. He's the fucking
practices every single day. I'm sure he practices. You remember when we did judo and we were taught illegal techniques just to
just to not do them.
just to know when our opponent is doing that or whatever hell they told us. But when we tried, I don't know about you, sometimes I cheated a little bit in tournaments. I knew exactly what I was doing. I knew exactly what I was doing.
Well, that's fair enough. Yeah, he is a high level, especially in jiu-jitsu. I guess he is aware enough to know what he's doing. I don't know. Maybe it was intentional. Maybe it wasn't. But like I said, I don't think it changed the outcome. So therefore, I am not as bothered as I feel like most people are.
One thing about that, we will never know. That's the thing. We'll never know. And now Dustin Poirier has lost 2 title shots. One to Khabib, one to Charles Oliveira in a similar fashion. I don't know. It's tough to see him go down. Do I want to see him go back? I know we already spoke about this, but it's just tough.
All right, guys, that was UFC 269 from top to bottom. Amazing, amazing card, and easily one of the cards of the year. I feel like there were three or four great cards. There was the MSG card. The one before that was great too. There was just so many good cards this year, but this one definitely deserves some attention as well.
It was the Amanda Nunes fight, and specifically, which made this card insane. The Cody Garbrandt fight was a good one.
Yeah, but even the prelims were stacked. The prelims had some great fights as well.
Yes, O'Malley was on the card. Another victory from him. The hype train continues to go up. Dominic Cruz had a good performance. The list just goes on and on and on with this card. Not all finished. Some decision wins were also very entertaining, and overall great card. Great way for the UFC to end the pay-per-view. Great way for the UFC to end the pay-per-view run for the year.
I agree.
So next week we have a card headlined by Lewis and Derrick Lewis and Chris Daukaus. And on the co-main event, we have Stephen Thompson and Belal Muhammad. I'm not going to get into those fights just for the sake of time, but before we wrap up, I just want to get your predictions for these 2 fights.
So I like Chris Daukaus. He's been impressive as of late. But Derrick Lewis, he's one of those guys there. You have to put him out because the later it gets into that fight, it's almost like the more dangerous he gets. Look, if we look at Chris Daukaus' record, he's 12-3. He's undefeated in the UFC so far, and his last 2 wins were against Alexei Oleinik and Shamil Abdurakhimov. I think both of those guys are pretty impressive names to have on your resume, especially so early in your UFC career. Derrick Lewis, this guy has
his wins are all by knockout or TKO. I mean, the same thing with Derrick Lewis. 11 of his 12 wins are by knockout or TKO. So
100% finish rate.
Derrick Lewis has the power. Everybody knows if Derrick Lewis hits you, you're out. But so does this guy.
I think this guy's a little younger. Let's see. He's 32 years old. Derrick Lewis is 36 years old. So I guess the youth is a little bit more on Chris Daukaus' side. I think the hunger, the motivation, I think I'm going to lean with Chris Daukaus on this one, just because of how hot he's coming into the UFC. Like I just said, I think the youth is going to be on his side, and I feel like Derrick Lewis he's getting, on the second half of his career. So I feel like he's going to be slowing down a little bit. Not necessarily saying this is the fight that he's going to lose, but I think he has a few more fights until he turns into a slightly less impressive fighter.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Daukaus as well, but I might bite my words for this because, once upon a time, I thought that Curtis Blades was for sure going to beat Lewis, and what Lewis do to him, knock him the hell out. And he's very possible that it's going to happen this time. Derrick Lewis is very, very dangerous, my guy. Very dangerous. So I'm going to go with Daukaus because, I don't know, feels like the right thing to do, but could be a good night for Derrick Lewis.
So Stephen Thompson and Belal Muhammad in the co-main event. If you compare it, I guess at the surface level, Stephen Thompson is by far the better striker, much more diverse. I feel like just from the hips, from the legs, from the arm, like everything he uses as a weapon in his striking. Belal Muhammad, though, is very, very tough, and I think he has a pretty solid jaw. I don't think Thompson is going to be able to get that knockout easily. I feel like Stephen Thompson, I feel like maybe his hands aren't as, like, the bones aren't as strong. I feel like he hasn't been able to get that knockout power. And I don't know if that's just because he's not generating the power, or if, physically, just, he's unable to. Belal, he's tough, but I don't know, unless he tries to take Stephen Thompson down, which is very difficult to do. Thompson has very good wrestling defense. I don't see how Bilal's going to win. Like, he's not going to outstrike him. Can he knock out Thompson? Possibly. He's going to have to be one of those Hail Mary haymakers punches, but in my opinion, unlikely. Yeah, in my opinion, unlikely. I'm going to root Wonderboy Thompson with this one.
Going with Wonderboy Thompson as well. And I actually listened to his interview with Ariel Helwani. I didn't listen to the whole podcast. It's 4 hours. I don't know how you listen to all of it, but that's besides the point. But listening to Stephen Thompson, like, he's such a likable guy. Like, he's such a likable guy. Like, I want him to be my friend.
He's the NMF, bro.
He's such a cool dude. Like, he's so, like, funny. He's just good, like, such a good mood. Like, listening to him, I'm in a better mood.
Yeah, so, he's a positive guy.
And I think that he's an outstanding fighter. Like, his striking is world class. His takedown defense is pretty good. I would say one of the best in the UFC, or at one point in his career was. So I'm gonna have to go with Thompson by decision, most likely. Thompson by decision.
I agree. Yeah, I feel like decision is very possible. Like I just said, Thompson doesn't get that knockout power very frequently, and this is going to be a 3-round fight. So I don't think he'll have the time to get that knockout. And
I know that Ariel Helwani brought this up a bunch in his podcast, but he was talking about Thompson getting another title shot because Usman basically wiped out the entire division besides him. I mean, I don't know how that fight is going to go because I don't know, bro. With the sport,
I mean, look, Thompson is currently ranked number 5. So as long as he gets a win, I feel like ranking wise, it'll make sense for Thompson to fight. He hasn't been super active, but like you just said, Usman cleaned out the rest of that division. So he needs some fresh meat.
Yeah, but exciting card this weekend. The last card of the year, and then there's going to be a hiatus. So we're going to be on here, hopefully still weekly. Going to be discussing topics in MMA. Not sure what it is yet, but Eric and I are working hard on it. So make sure to tune into that. And nice talking to you today, Eric.
Right. Don't forget, we also have upcoming the MMA awards that we're going to be doing. We still haven't decided the official date, either the last week of December or the first week of January. We're going to try to squeeze that in. But we are working on our second annual Inside the Clinch MMA awards. But before we move away from this fight night card, just want to let you guys know the prelims will begin at 4 p.m. Eastern this Saturday, and the main card will start at 7 p.m. If you're trying to tune in, they will both be on ESPN Plus. So be sure to tune into that. There's some great fights on the undercard as well. For the sake of time, we won't be getting into all that.
Yeah, but one more thing, Jake Paul and Tyrone Woodley this weekend as well. So make sure
I forgot about that.
Make sure you tune into that as well.
All right, quick 2 minutes on that before we wrap up. I know you and I both have to run, but Tyrone Woodley stepping in, I believe it was like 8 or 9 days notice. Tommy Fury pulled out of the fight. I believe he was injured.
Everybody knows the story. What's going to happen in the fight?
What's going to happen? I hope Woodley gets the KO, and that's going to, or at least a biased decision the way that Jake Paul got a biased decision the first time, that way that they run back a trilogy. So I think because of the freak show circus that Triller is, I think Woodley's going to somehow win the second fight, and that's going to make way for a trilogy.
I need Tyrone Woodley to wake the fuck up, bro. Like, he needs to wake up because
you're knocking on the wrong door, brother. You're knocking on the wrong door.
I need him to wake up because he's still Tyrone Woodley. You could beat this kid up 100%. Like, we saw it in this few seconds of good that he had in the first fight. Like, he's significantly stronger than Jake Paul is. Significantly more experienced than him. So he should win this fight. If he doesn't win this fight, then fuck him. Never watching him or listening to his rap videos or songs ever again, because it's embarrassing the sport. Don't do that, brother. Don't do it.
Experience-wise, because Jake Paul has only had a number of fights, I'm expecting a more or less similar Jake Paul to show up. You know what I mean? Because, like, when you're new to the sport, there's only, you're learning things, what you can change, what you can't. Someone like Tyrone Woodley, he's been in so many different fights with so many high caliber athletes where he had to tune his fucking, like, his skills. This guy's a striker, this guy's a wrestler. So he had to adapt and overcome. So he's able to, I feel like, adapt to his opponent much better. So I'm expecting a more refined Woodley going into this fight, and I'm expecting a very similar Jake Paul from the last fight.
I'm not expecting anything from Tyrone Woodley because Tyrone Woodley has been very upsetting in his past few years. He's been showing me nothing. Absolutely nothing. I'm embarrassed of him. I'm embarrassed to be his fan because he shows me freaking nothing. I'm not confident in this fight. I don't know what to expect because Tyrone Woodley is something is
Falling
wrong.
in and out of love with you.
He's falling out of love. He's falling out of the sport also at the same time. So Tyrone Woodley's frustrating. I know when he just lost, I kept telling you how frustrated I was with him because he needs to unleash, like get knocked out. Get knocked out. I'd rather see him get knocked out than him fight like so reserved. And
I'm ready for that, honestly, at this point.
if you're chasing the money, I don't want to see you fight. I don't want to see you fight. Fight and knock this kid out. And not because I hate Jake Paul, because I don't, but
I'll put it this way.
He needs to wake up, bro.
I'll put it this way. If Tyrone Woodley loses again, his legacy goes to shit. That's like,
legacy, bro.
It's one thing to lose him once, but to lose him twice, bro, like you're the fucking former UFC welterweight champion. He's like 2 years removed. Grandpa. You know what I mean? Like fairly recently. Bro, come on.
Before 2 years removed, he was on a 4-fight losing streak. Hasn't had a knockout since 2016, I believe. That was to Robbie Lawler. It's not the same Tyrone Woodley, but he's still Tyrone Woodley. Yeah. He's still able to do it. He's just hesitant. He's not unleashing.
That's why I'm hoping that he tasted what he needed to taste in the first fight. Yeah.
Like this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. I'm just fired up for this fight.
Thanks everyone for tuning in for round 47 of Inside the Clinch. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Leave a rating on the platform that you listen to us on. That'll really help us out a lot. On Instagram, we are Inside the Clinch MMA. On Twitter, we are ITC MMA Podcast. On Facebook and YouTube, we are Inside the Clinch MMA Podcast. And for any email inquiries, please email info@insidetheclinch.com. Catch you guys next week.